It appears that Freyja Fateweaver was only added to Raid to just extend the amount of grind we really need to do in Raid Shadow Legends. We have a new hero's path to go after her Deck of Fate event to get her. It's another grind session. Now, obviously, if you've got shards, this has replaced the summon rush or the summoning event that we would normally have had. So you can absolutely speed this up with summoning champions, but it's another champion training grind. Freyja is like apparently the way that you do champion training. Who knows? This is what seems to happen. So we have a hero's path. Available in this hero's path is just a singular 5-star perfect soul. There's no Wixwell type events where it's like, you know, you can get a 3 or 4 or 5. You've got some options. What is cool though, and I will be honest, in my brain, it instantly went, you know, yeah, cool, 5-star soul, but ooh, shiny blue portrait. I actually kind of like the portrait more than the soul. I don't know if anyone else is with me on this one, but I'm almost like looked at this and I was like, I wonder how expensive the frame is going to be, because I quite like this frame, and I probably will just do this just for the frame. The soul is nice and all, don't get me wrong, I really love the soul. However, the frame, that seems to be, you know, where my head went at. Now, it is a summoning event, but it's also champion training, so there's 2 reasonable ways. And the reason why I say reasonable, of all the different events that you can do, champion training is often the less egregious because you can do it in multiple ways, right? You can do it through brews, you can do it with chickens that you've stored up, you can do it with energy and campaign, but it's not as egregious as something like Dungeon Divers where it's like you've got to do 200,000 energy or whatever the crazy number they put in. It's not as egregious as these things. So I think for this instance, training plus summoning is pretty good, I want to say, just because it's the lesser of 2 evils. It's the lesser evil for time, which is summoning, and the lesser of evils for all the other non sort of quick events, which is training. Training is a grind, but it's resource lighter than, say, Dungeon Divers. The only other one that it would compete with is Artifact Enhancement, but you still need to grind the silver, so there's a level of dungeon requirement there. This pretty much follows the Wixwell model. When we had the Wixwell path, you basically have the same points. They haven't modified those, and it's actually a little bit cheaper than Wixwell for the 5-star soul. The only difference is Wixwell's path actually had a 3 and a 4, so you could choose where you wanted to go to and get some value. This one is much more of an all or nothing path. Now, the way you're going to look at this path is you're going to look at it in 2 halves, but you don't always want to go down all the way, right? So you first got to figure out, what do you want? Do you want the soul? Now, I will say, if you didn't get Freyja, the only real thing that you might want is the frame. And that's if you're one of these collectors that like, you know, shiny skins. Otherwise, there's really no incentive to engage with this path. So that's worth considering. There are better paths to be attending to if you don't want the soul. I would just save my resources and move on to the next one. If you got Freyja, then a 5-star soul is very desirable. Now, if you want the 5-star soul, you need 3 keys, which means you always have to go and get one of these 2. So, you know, you always gonna have to go all the way down the left-hand side and get one of these 2, all the way down the right-hand side and get one of these 2. If you do this, you'll pick up the 3 keys, and then it's just the 50,000 grind, okay? However, if you want the soul, you don't have to go to the bottom. You can go and split. So you can get to these middle bits. You can choose at this stage, do you want the soul coin or the essence? It doesn't really matter, like the stone or the essence. And this bit here, if you've got the stone, you can go the energy, but you can also go the gems, but you don't have to go down the right-hand side, right? This is the cool thing about Heroes Paths. You choose your own path. So if you want the dust, you can choose the dust or the glyph. It doesn't really matter. That will unlock this. You don't have to unlock both. So if you want just the frame, you absolutely can come down the left, pick up the energy, pick up the dust, pick up the key, then just go to the gems, pick up the dust and pick up the key. That's your 2 keys. Get your mythical charms and get the frame. That is what you can do. Now, if you want the legendary book, you'll have to go here. But again, you can choose to go like the Eternal Soul Coins, Immortal Soul Stone, and then the 2 books. That is also available to you as well. So there is some non-soul stuff, but pretty much the decision you're going to have is, do you want the frame, because that's the unique thing here, or do you want the soul? Otherwise, you probably are not engaging with this event. Now, in terms of how much is it going to cost, right? So what we need to do is pull it in and figure out what kind of paths do we want to take. So what I've done is I've pulled all the points in, all the different requirements, and I've created 4 potential paths, which is going to be the 5-star soul. That's going to require you to get 84,000 points. The account frame is going to require you 21,000. If you want an Eternal Soul Stone, I always try to build some paths for people who are not after the main thing. It's about 62,000, and a legendary book is about 32,000. Now, if you're like me, you're greedy, you want the soul, and you want the frame, it's going to be about 101,500 points. We can tie this then into summoning. Like I said, they haven't really modified these points. These remain the same. So what are we looking at here? Well, it's about 18 sacreds if you just do it through summoning, right? If you don't do any of the points, you just do summoning, you're looking at around about 18 sacreds. And a lot of people will instantly go, that is crazy for a 5-star soul. Absolutely, I agree. What you really want to kind of look at is, can you offset some summoning with the sacred stones and then do the training? That's the way I would look at it. Don't look at it just as exclusive. This is just to give you a bit of a headline number. Now, typically, the most efficient way to do it, if you want to spend money, is primal shards. They are the best, generally the best currency now for these path breakdowns. If you want to translate direct costs, they're not easily available. And of course, they're not necessarily the most desirable shard, because you kind of want to save them for those 2 times mythical chances. That's really what you want. But in terms of a real money kind of situation, if we value primal shards at $5, that's what they tend to do, then you're looking at around about near enough, like it's almost double. It's not quite, it's probably about 70% in terms of like primal to sacred cost, and it is quite a lot cheaper than void. It used to be voids were the best way to do this. Now it's kind of like primals, they're just cheaper. So you need about 46 primals. If you translate that to $5, about $230 if you wanted to do that. If you want to do it with the mysteries, it's like 28,000. It's crazy. However, if you want the account frame, it is only 5 sacred shards, so you could just summon a bit, get your account frame, and peace out. It's kind of okay. Now in terms of training here, we've done this on a number of different paths, but if you're new here, how do we work this out? Well, we basically pull the points in across the board and we do some partial leveling here. So I'm partially leveling my rank 3s, 4s, and 5s. What that basically means is before I feed them into another champion to upgrade them, I raise their level to level 10, level 15, level 21, depending on their rank, because that gives me more points per energy than if I was to just feed them straight away, right? I get a little bit more points. So I'm doing this first to make it more efficient. So we're looking at these, there's 2 ways to do it. You either create champions, which is taking things to rank 6, or you make food, which is taking things to rank 5. You're doing this depending on what you want. Maybe you've got a number of champions you've pulled, you need to, train them. So that's cool. You can look at the rank 6 option. If you don't have anyone you particularly want to build right now, you prepare for the next set of champions you're going to get. So you build rank 5, you create food. Generally, creating food is more cost efficient than creating champions, just because you don't have the expense of taking that level 50 all the way up to level 50. It's quite inefficient to do that. So we can work out exactly how much experience it requires to do these things. Then we can translate it into the XP you gain from 12-3 Brutal or 12-6 Nightmare. Nightmare generally is faster. It gives you a little bit more experience per energy, but you lose mortal shards, which means that you might run out of champions. So you've got to be careful with this. If you're running Nightmare, always keep track of how many mortal shards you have, because you're going to need them to be able to summon more rank 2, rank 1 food, sometimes rank 3s, to be able to keep training. That's the only issue with Nightmare. Now, in this option here, you do have some customization. This is a tool that you will be able to use. I will put it in the description and the pinned comment. I always do this. You can decide whether you want to enable the raid card. This is a subscription that you can get on mobile that basically gives you more experience when you train. Or you can actually buy the Forge Pass, and then you can say what level you are, and this will also give you more. So if I got a maxed out Forge Pass and I got a maxed out raid card, well, that means I'm going to get a lot more experience per turn. And we can look at the difference when we actually show the sort of general cost versus the sort of efficient cost. So we can pull it into this calculator here, and this is really good. This is something that you guys can use. You can make a copy, and what you can do is you can go, okay, well, I've got some shards. I'm going to use 5 of my sacreds, and maybe I'm going to pull, I don't know, 2 voids. I wouldn't recommend you pull voids, because obviously right now there's a sacred event. And you can say the one I'm going for is the 5-star soul. Great. Well, I've purchased, I've got 24,000 points. Great. If you want to buy the hero coins pack, you can have a look at the impact of that. Like you could buy 22,500. And what it will do is it will go, great, you've done all this. What is left for you to train? And it will tell you how much energy you still need to do after this. So it's a way for you to offset your requirements here. Now, if we're going to do the average way for training, say like we didn't pull any shards, well, the average cost of training here is as follows. If I'm running 12-3 Brutal, I don't have a raid card, I don't have the Forge Pass, then efficiently running it, it's going to be about 17,000 energy. You're going to need to make 15 rank 5 chickens, or you're going to need to make just under 3 rank 6 champions. And when I'm talking about making a rank 6 champion, I mean all of the requirements from rank 2 all the way up to rank 6. It's not just upgrading rank 6 champions, right? There's a whole series that you have to do to get it. It's about generating the champion and the food before it to make a rank 6. That's the most inefficient way to do it, but it is also the most average way to do it. That would be about 17,000. That would give you the 5-star Freyja Soul. If you just want the frames, about 4,300. Legendary books, about 6,500. I really would not encourage anyone to go for this if that's their goal. There are better ways to get legendary books. But here's how it changes. If I change it to Nightmare, well, that saves me about 2,000 energy. If I then add in the Forge Pass, which would be the most accessible way, it goes down to 12,000. If I then add in the raid card, well, now I've cut it down to the most efficient way, which is 10,500 energy. So these bonuses and going into Nightmare do make quite a significant difference. We're talking 7,000 energy for those things, but they cost money. So that is obviously why I never start with that position, but just to give you some context, you can set this up however you want. I would highly recommend that you're offsetting the sacred to this, and generally the hero coin path is more of a time saver. So if you buy the hero coins, it's not like you're wasting money, you're effectively buying time, which is you're not getting the champions, but you don't have to use the energy from the pack that you purchased to do the champion. They're about a 1-to-1 ratio. The amount of price, the price you will pay for the hero coins, is about the same amount of money you will pay for the energy, but you're just not getting the food. So that's what you're choosing to buy. I just want it up front. So that is the event. This is a little bit cheaper than Wixwell. Wixwell's 5-star was about 19.4 sacreds. I think it was about 3,000 or 4,000 more coins. But of course, you didn't get access to the 4-star and the 3-star. The 4-star was about 8 sacreds. So that's the difference here. We're having to do this all up front if you want the soul. You don't have a way to go, I'll get the 4-star and I'll peace out. I'm happy at that. That is the issue. So am I going to be doing this event? Well, I did get Freyja. That's the thing. I did get Freyja. I held on to a lot of sacreds as well because I thought Freyja's deck event was going to be summoning. It wasn't. So I have got Freyja. There is an incentive for me to chase this 50,000. There's also the frame that I really, really, really want because I'm a collectible kind of guy and it just looks really, really cool. And so far, I will be honest, of all the frames that we have potentially, the only one that I truly like is the Cintranos one. I don't actually like the rest of these. I think they're quite samey and bland. Like that's not even gold. So having something that's a bit unique, a bit different, I kind of like it. It's also really easy for me to see when we're looking at Clan Boss as well. When I look at these things, it's a lot harder for me to find my portrait these days. Having the ice one at least makes me stand out a little bit more. But probably everyone's going to get the ice one. I'm not going to be able to see it now. That'll be the next problem. So let's have a look first. Are we going to get any sacred shards in Clan Boss? We got a sacred shard. See, the writing is on the wall. The game is telling me it. Double sacred shard from Clan Boss. The game is telling me to go all in. Ooh, and it's a really good cruel piece. Crit damage, speed, and attack. The resistance is kind of terrible, but hey. Double sacred from Clan Boss is a message. That message is pull your shards. That's what Playroom is trying to tell me right now. Go all out. Pull every shard you've got. It is a ×2 sacred. It's pretty good for getting legendaries. It's not the best legendary system, especially for someone of my level of account where I have a lot of legendaries. I could easily pull a legendary that I already have. But, you know, because of the 5-star soul, and I do have some plans to use Freyja. I know a lot of people think she's an average legendary. She's not that crazy, but she does have some interesting usages somewhere. We'll see. So I think I've got 12. It's absolutely time to do it, but I have no champion storage inventory, so we're going to have to do that first. So I've cleared some space. Now we can pull our sort of sacred shards here that are going on. It is only really worth pulling the sacred shards. There's also a ×10 for Glaicad. Now, I will say ×10s are kind of rubbish in the sense that there's so many legendary champions in the game, ×10 doesn't have a meaningful impact. However, Glaicad value has gone up since the Hydra rebalance because I feel like revivals now, just because of the nature of uncontrollable lack of damage, you can't re-kill heads. Killing the heads and respawning them happens so often that often you don't have time to manage your cooldowns. A reviver is now extremely valuable, someone like a Sulfurion, and Glaicad having this revive with increased defense, increased accuracy. You can also place it when nobody's dead. You get a veil. I feel like his value went up quite a lot. Even if he's got a freeze on the A1 that doesn't really work, this kind of bonus damage plus thing, he was always considered a budget Feral, but the veil, no lack of block buffs is a problem, but you have to find it elsewhere. But he does have a pretty good aura here as well. I think his value has gone up. I think Glaicad is well worth it in Hydra these days. It gives you that backup safety revive if you need it. So let's see what we're going to get. I'm still after the average users. Like, you know, I still need a Feral. I still need a Kaimar. I still need some of these other ones. I've kind of just accepted my fate when I pull these things to go, I'll get what I'm given. So we'll see what we get here. What's on the list? We're going to get our first one out, and it is going to be a Melga. Actually really useful for some Hydra, for some Cintrano stages. I built a Melga specifically, I think, for stage 13. Really, really cool. We get another epic out, and it's going to be a Thanassel. One of my first ever epics on my account 4 or 5 years ago. Absolutely carried me through some stages in the early game. Bergoth, Halloween Fusion, or pre-Halloween Fusion from a few years ago. First legendary, it was a Mortu. Ew, not good. I mean, a lot of people will still say this is strong, but I have absolutely no use for another Mortu Macabre, other than if I need a Demon Spawn faction. We'll see if I need it, but I don't think I do. Ew. But it's legendary. We got a legendary in 3. That's pretty good feeling. That's not bad. You got another Venom Mage. I've got +4 Venom Mage now. I don't need another one of those. We've got a Chitis. Ooh, that's not great. Anything else we're going to get? We're going to get another legendary. Who knows? I always feel like when Thresh comes out, it feels really epic. And then you realize that she's just like an average decreased resistance champion, which, you know, she's one of the first decreased resistance champions that came out. We always felt she's a bit weak. Another one. Oh, it's a Duchess. Oh. Back in the day, 2 years ago, I'd be jumping out of my seat for a Duchess. These days, I feel like she's fallen off. And the reason why is turn meter is king. And when you revive everyone, you get no turn meter. I feel like she needs a rebalance. I know it sounds crazy to say these words. I would much prefer that you get less health, but a bit of turn meter. The fact you come back and you have no turn meter, it's really, really awkward. The shield on the A1 is also really problematic into Narcissus because you're effectively just giving him double damage whenever you put a shield on someone. But she's still solid in a lot of content. It's just, I've already got one, so having a second one, again, it's a bit like Mortu. You know, they're great champions, but they just don't quite add enough value. I would have been jumping out of my seat 2 years ago, but the game is so much more power these days. I'm looking for things that are going to dramatically change my account. Then we have Soul Drinker, Budget Mortu, or Bomb Mortu. Are we going to get one more legendary to finish it off, or are we done? All 12 sacreds. Obviously for this hero's path, that's why I'm doing it. I've got Freyja, it makes sense. We're not, okay. We get another Soul Drinker. Apparently Demon Spawn was the theme today. 2 Demon Spawn legendaries. Kind of crazy. The real question is, does this do anything to my faction guardians? It does not, because I just got scored, so I've now got 2 Duchesses and 2 Mortus. So it did absolutely nothing. I could build a +2 Countess Lix, a +1 Crutraxa. I mean, these things are not worth it. Yeah, so it changes nothing, unfortunately. Those were effectively useless legendaries for me, in essence. I don't know. Maybe someone can tell me what I can use a second Duchess for. Maybe I can throw it in a... I will say one area that she's come back in value is Siege, because effectively we can't use arena auras, and she is one of the better defenders with an aura. So maybe I can build a second one, use it for some sort of Siege defense, but Siege is pretty much like Mythicals and like Siphies and Ancora Narcissus and those types of champions. You see Duchess in some places, but you much more see the other champions. You don't really see her that often. So how many points did that give us? 59,000. I needed 85,000 or 84,000. So I've got quite a lot of training grind to do. I still have quite a lot. Even this is like, there's no way I've got enough to get the soul, which would be my first goal here. So I'd have to go, you know, probably something like this. We'll grab this side. I probably could have gone the right-hand side. It wouldn't have mattered. We'll get this oil. I mean, 500 coins is nothing. I'll get the soul stone. From this position, I would probably go for this, this, and this. And then here, I would much prefer the Eternal Soul coins. This is worth far more than a 6-star speed glyph. Immortal Soulstone worth more than a 6-star legendary Chaos Ore. Get the legendary book and get the 2 keys. So now I can unlock this, which is great. But now I've effectively got to get 25,000 points. Now, if I take this back over to our calculator, I can do some quick math quickly to say, okay, well, I pulled about 12 sacred shards. I think I had about 5,000 points left before. So that's leaving me required about 25,000 points. So I need to do around about 5,000 energy on 12.3 or around about 4,500 energy on 12.6 Nightmare. So I've still got quite a bit of grind to go, unless I choose to like go buy another sacred from some place, or, you know, I could just buy another 22,000 if I wanted to, right? If I just didn't want to do the grind, I could absolutely just go buy the coins. But I also still want to get 2 more keys. So I still need to go and get another 12,000 points to get my frame, because I'm absolutely going for the frame because I'm greedy. So grind is ahead of me, but I will focus on getting the soul first and we'll see what we get. If I wanted to, I could just blow some of these voids as well, just to see if I can get some extra points. But, you know, I'd be doing it in an inefficient way. Same as primals, I really should be saving for another event. But 2 legendaries out of 12 is pretty good. The rate is basically about 0.12, I think. So I really should be getting, you know, I think it's on average about 1 every 8. So getting 2 every 12 is pretty good rate. I'm pretty happy with that. It's just a shame that the ones that I got were not very valuable, but that is the case. So I'm going to grind away. Let me know in the comments below, guys. Did you go for Freyja? Are you even interested in this path if you didn't go for Freyja? Because I get the feeling that you wouldn't be. It would not be it wouldn't be worth it because the soul is the big ticket item. I got Freyja. It makes more incentive for me to do it. And yeah, let me know in the comments below. And as I said at the start of this video, I will put the link to the calculator in the description so you can see how much more grind you've got going for you. But that is the Freyja path video. I'll catch you guys in the next video.